Hi, Ruben Taylor from Business Success Educators here. And I was chatting earlier in the week with a client about how can he get his team to hit their key performance indicators or hit the targets in their business. And it raised a number of interesting points that I wanted to share with you today. You see, what I often find for businesses is that regarding KPIs, it's either there are none, or there might be some, but it's unclear, or there might be too many. And each one of those is a problem because it actually makes it hard for someone to hit their targets. And so here's 3 things to think about that can make sure that you hit the key performance indicators or the key targets that you need to hit in your business. Now, there was the famous management consultant, Peter Drucker. He was like the father of management. And he had this famous quote, which is, what gets measured gets managed. What gets measured gets managed. And so this is really, really important, is we want to make sure that we are focusing on the right things for our business. In fact, key performance indicators should drive your business. And so think about the big picture of your business is that it all starts with marketing. You've got to turn the marketing into a sale. You've then got to deliver your product or service. You've then got to fulfill that order and then get paid for that order. And then if you do a great job, you're going to get repeat business or referrals. And so our KPIs need to drive that process, needs to drive that engine throughout our business. So how do we make sure that we're actually measuring and managing these things? Well, a big part of that is having visibility, having some form of scoreboard. What scoreboard will enable us to keep an eye on the key numbers that we need to in our business? Now, this could be a whiteboard, it could be a spreadsheet, it could be tied into some software. The key thing, it needs to be visible. It needs to be able to, one that we're having conversations about, so we're meeting about, we're reviewing the scoreboard, and so we know what's happening. Because remember, what gets measured gets managed. The second one is that less is more. Too often I see KPIs being, we've got 10 KPIs to hit. Well, that becomes a problem because what do I focus on? In fact, try and focus on 4 walls at once. Think of the room that you're in now, if you are in a room, but if you try to focus on the front wall and the side wall around, and you're starting to go around in circles. And this is what can happen with our KPIs. In fact, they did this study, it's highlighted in the book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. And they said, if we go for 1 to 2 goals, we're going to hit 1 to 2. If we then increase that to going to 3 to 10, we're only going to hit 1. Or if we go for 11 to 20, we're going to hit none. There's a law of diminishing returns, is that the more we try and achieve, the less we actually achieve. And so think about that with your KPIs. How can you think where less is more? So typically, 2 KPIs for each individual is going to be a good number to go for. Something to do with quality, something to do with quantity. I.e., we're getting the sales, so that could be the quantity, but are we getting it at the right margin? Or are we getting any refunds or anything like that? So you just want to make sure that you're actually getting the quality and quantity. Or if you're manufacturing a product, are we getting the throughput, but are we getting the throughput without mistakes or with a certain level of productivity? And the third one on how we really hit key performance indicators is to focus on the critical activities. Let me give you an example. Let's just say that you wanted to have a 6-pack. Well, chances are you'd have to do a whole lot of sit-ups. Or if you wanted to get fit, you'd have to start swimming laps in the pool or start jogging around the local park, whatever it might be. There's certain activities that lead to the result. See, often the key performance indicator is an end result. We can only look at the result at the end of the month and we go, yeah, we hit it, or no, we didn't. But what activities lead to that actually happening? So to achieve our KPIs, we need to work out what activities help us achieve them. So for example, if I'm following up my quotes, that could be a key activity which leads to more sales. Or if I'm prospecting for new business, it's about how many calls did I make or how many reach outs did I make. There's certain activity which done day in, day out, week in, week out actually lead to the result we're after. Just like doing the sit-ups will lead to the 6-pack. And so we want to work out what they are. And a good couple of questions to ask to work that out is ask yourself, when you have a great month, what happened? When you had a poor month, what happened or what didn't happen? And usually there's clues into what activity happened or didn't happen, which will help you achieve the KPIs that you're after. So for each KPI that you've got, back it with the critical activity. What are the activities that need to be done to make sure that the KPI will actually be met? So remember that what gets measured gets managed, so use it to focus on the right things in your business. That less is more, so you're better off focusing on the critical few rather than the trivial many. And remember to focus on the critical activities that actually lead to the KPI, because the more you focus on those, the KPI will naturally happen. That way your business will be more profitable, it'll be more productive, and you'll start hitting your targets. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll catch you in another video soon. Bye for now.